Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Let's have a look at a game that was played at the ongoing 2023 FIDE World Rapid Championship. This was a round 5 game between Magnus Carlsen on the white end and Timur Gareyev. Time controls are 15 plus 10. Going into this round 5 game, Carlsen had 3.5 points. His opponent was the only player on 4 out of 4. Now, what we're going to observe with this game is how we can handle an opponent who plays aggressively with the pawns at an early stage. And we see this by move 6. Comes out of Ruy Lopez Steinitz variation. Castles, prep work for the central expansion, and here we go, g5. Now, if this game was played online, you may be thinking to yourself as white, did black just mouse slip? Did black really intend g6? g6 is a perfectly reasonable move, much more solid approach. g5, on the other hand, is the most committal move you can make. 4 holes have just been created. What would be your response here as white? Feel free to pause the video. Okay. I'd like to share some words about this position that I think may be helpful for your own game. Your knight on f3 is going to be kicked. g4 is going to happen. You're just going to have to deal with it and find a new home for that knight. Trying to secure its post on f3 with h3 is a faulty train of thought, because you would only be inviting h5 and g4 would still hit. Your knight would still have to find a new home, and in the process a file will be cracked open towards your own king. Very easy for white to find himself in hot water and in a completely losing position. Therefore, we don't move this pawn. Carlsen is not distracted by g5. Very easy in general in this game to be distracted by your opponent's last move. On move 6, Carlsen said A. Move 7, he's justifying it. The knight's kicked back to rank 1, where it stays out of the way of the queenside miners. Black continues to push pawns. Where do we go from here? Well, it's still the opening. We still need to focus on fundamentals, even though there is this caveman-like approach by black. We need to develop the pieces. These weaknesses on the king side do know they're not going away. They're static weaknesses. They're there forever. There's a big question mark over the black king. Black has been successful demoting this knight. There's a big question mark over this guy. Where are you going? You going to go kingside, where there's all these weaknesses, or are you going to hang a left, where this guy right here on a6 can maybe provide white a nice hook to pry open the b file? Okay, let's get some development in. Queens and dark square bishops playing. There's some pressure mounting on d4. It's released, tension is released, and we follow up with knight d3. That's its new home. And notice it's immediately eyeing up the weakness behind black's last move. After d takes e5, c5 is a bit soft. Knights are connected, knight d2, knight g6. This is a scary piece. Should we stop it from getting to f4 with g3? No. Carlsen still keeps these guys on home base, close to the king. In this game, it's knight c5. If you play g3, you're asking again for a file to be ripped open. In this one, it's knight c5. Black plays bishop c8 here. The suggestion by the engine is to castle queenside and be okay with this exchange. Black wants to preserve the bishop. This knight dominates not just the bishop, but the rook. How I frequently like to view it is 3 points are controlling 8. What's this guy going to do if this guy can't move? Carlsen's queen rook can definitely contribute, does on this move 15. Only open file, now occupied. knight f4. This is the intolerable piece. It's got to go. Bishop takes knight. In the game, it's bishop takes bishop. If you recapture with the pawn, this guy bolts. A square opens up for the second-ranked knight, and knight f6 is going to hit. So, bishop takes bishop. Bishop is challenged. Pressure on this pawn as well. Now it's kingside castles. Is now the time we can think a bit more about advancing pawns on our kingside? Yes, especially with this rook no longer on the h-file. Carlsen takes some steps with the pawns, only at this stage, only after black has made the commitment to go to the kingside. It's not some race position. It's not an opposite sides castles position. Same sides castles ahead. g3 with the follow-up f4 will pry open the f-file. White will be granted access to, in other words, f5 and f6 with the rook. f3 was another move in the engine's eyes, but in this one it is f4. This is where black goes seriously wrong. The suggestion by the engine is to take on f4 and play with this structure. Dynamic game still ahead. I'm not exactly sure how the pawns will be positioned. This still has some nice appeal to it, e5 with knight to e4. In this game, though, it is g takes on f en passant. The second rank knight is improved. It is on its way to occupy one of the big weaknesses in black's camp. Ever since move 6, g5, f5 has been a desirable square for a piece. White now has a path into that square. Bishop is developed. There's a pin white has to sort out. Easy enough. Queen is out of the way. Queen also preps h3. Black has an eye on that. Queen is immediately challenged. She goes back. And now the bishop driven back. And now we're moving forward. A lot of forward moves for white. And the reply by black is to retreat. Knight clearly looking to hop in to f5. A check is thrown in. I must admit, these remaining moves by black, it kind of feels like black is a fish out of water, just kind of flipping and flopping about. Whether the bishop is on this diagonal or this diagonal, not really doing anything. It's not connected with any other black piece. It's easily worked around. King h2, queen g5, knight f5, pressure on the bishop. Black tries to work around this piece. In the game, it's bishop b6. If you take the knight, a rook on f5 is also a very good piece, not easily extracted. In this one, though, it's bishop b6, queen's kicked back, queen e2, eyeing up another one of those weaknesses on the king side. Queen corner pocket, a sad move. And now g4, right around the corner, possible opening up of the g-file. Even if it costs the exchange, this is an overwhelming attack for white. Black tries to get off of the g-file in time with king h7 and king h8. But in the process, note white has this space, has a 5th ranked knight, and they coordinate perfect. Knight h6 cuts the queen from her defensive h5, and there's no defending it. Queen g6 simply runs into rook f6, taking advantage of yet another one of those weaknesses. Every one of these squares, every one of these 4 weaknesses that were created on move 6 are now being pounced on some 20, 25 moves later. In this game, we continue with bishop takes bishop. I should note, clock times to give you an idea here. After this move, black really only had seconds, a handful of seconds to work with, and Carlsen still had 12 minutes. We recapture, f6, queen takes pawn. What else is there? Bishop e3. The threat after queen takes on h5 is to play g6. Kick the queen away. So for instance, if the rook played here, there's g6. Queen here, we're going to win the queen with the discovered check. Queen somewhere else, it's going to lead to mate. Queen h7 upcoming. Bishop e3, how are things different? g6 here, there's queen takes knight. But the bishop on e3 is not stable. It's challenged right away. And we're going to have the win of a piece soon enough. What other options are there besides this capture? Bishop here, it's challenged right away. Bishop f4, we take. And then, again, there's this g6 idea. So there's no good move. There hasn't been a good move for black for some time. What's tried is f takes g. We first exchange rooks and simply win the free piece. It's in this position, black resigns. So what'd you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.